Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Cadillac Driven. We got another video for you all to check out. I want to thank everybody for supporting the channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, we got more content coming on Cadillac Driven, so make sure you subscribe. Do not forget to hit the like button on the way out. Help the channel out. And with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's get started with this review. All right, you guys, welcome back. Yes, today we're going to tell you how we're able to afford a $66,000 car, which is a lot. Now, I don't make a lot. I will tell you that my annual income is in the $30,000 range, right? So let your imagination run wild. So I don't make a lot of money. I work in retail. I'm not ashamed to tell you that. And it's one of the reasons I'm doing a YouTube video, along with the fact that I love cars, right? All cars. I mean, I love sports cars. I like exotic cars, but my main passion is luxury cars, right? And as you can see with the Cadillac CT6, is right up my alley. It's the best purchase that I've made out of all the cars that I've ever bought. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get started on this. Now, one of the first components before we get started that made it possible for me to be able to afford the Cadillac CT6 for $66,000, I may add, is a great credit score, right? So let's say I had a bad credit score, because yes, you can get a lease car, you can get a car that you finance with bad credit, but if you do so, then the interest rate goes up. So if the car costs, let's say $600 a month, and you got an interest rate of 13%, then how much do you think you're going to be paying for that car? So for me, I wouldn't have been able to afford this car had my interest rate been anywhere between 6 and 13%. So credit score plays a major role. Now, we're going to talk about that in another video. If you want to see that, hit me in the comments section down below. Now, with that being said, I knew nothing about lease cars. My stepfather sat down and talked to me one day, and he said, hey, why don't you consider a lease car? And I asked him, what was a lease car? He told me that one of the things you can do is get your car note lower than if you would finance the car, right? Because I was already financing used cars, not new cars, but used cars that was pretty much almost new. And so he said also what you could do is that you can change cars every 3 years. And I was excited about that, to be able to get a car every 3 years, a new vehicle. Yes, why not? Now, he also told me what took place at the back end of it, which means that when you turn this car in, or if you decide to buy the car, you may pay more for the car than you did when you were leasing the car. I was okay with that because I wasn't thinking about ever giving a car back, right? Now, my first car is not the Cadillac CT6 that I've ever leased. The first lease car that I leased was the Hyundai Genesis, which was a beautiful car. It was a 2015. I had the car for 3 years. My car note on that was $264. The car cost $46,000, right? So as you can see, I made a $20,000 jump in price so far as the vehicle is concerned. Now, I didn't know if I could afford this, right, at the price that I was being told that my lease was going to be. So at the end of my lease, right, I went to the dealership, Hyundai, and I was talking to Hyundai, and Hyundai kind of treated me, I don't know how to put it in words, but they didn't treat me like a true customer, right? I asked him a question about how much the new model costs, and he said the price, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's $6,000 more for the same exact thing that I'm getting out of. This guy proceeded to try to sell me a SUV. I don't want an SUV. Now, I don't know if he was looking at the way I was dressed. Every time I come up to the dealership, I'm in my work clothes. And so maybe he thought that I couldn't afford the car. Well, I had already had it on my mind that I wanted to get a badge. He just pushed me out the door with the service that I received from this guy. And so I went ahead and I started searching for the new badge, right? I went to BMW, I went to Mercedes, and I went to Cadillac. Now, the cars that I was looking at Mercedes and BMW, I don't like the front end of that car. Yes, it had all the perks on the inside, but I just didn't like the way it looked on the outside. And the one that I can afford so far as Mercedes-Benz was concerned, was a car that was 4-cylinder, and I cannot do a 4-cylinder car. It has to have 6 or better, and I think we do better with the car that has 6 cylinders, because 8 drinks up a lot of gas, right? So what I did was I went to Cadillac and I asked the guy, right, after I looked at it, because when I looked at this car, it was love at first sight. I directly went and got in this car. It was roomy, it was spacious. I got out, I got the back seat because my family and I were going road trips and I want my family to be comfortable. And it had leg room galore. And I'm like, listen, how much is this car? And this was the general manager of this dealership. And I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to slam him. He said the car note would be $800 on a lease car, right? And I'm like, $800, right? And this guy proceeded to continue to go. And I'm like, fine. I'm like, wow, okay. So I continued to research. I was looking in the paper. I decided to go to a dealership that was 20 miles away. And once I got there, I started talking to him about the car, telling him how much I love the car. And I asked him, do you have any incentive? I already know that the car note is going to be $800. He had me come in. We talked. He said, I got some demos that you can take a look at. Do you want to test drive? I said, yes. So I test drove the car. I'm already in love with it. I really didn't need to drive it, but it drove like a dream, right? And when I came back, we sat down, we talked. He told me about the incentive that was on the car. And he also told me that that was a demo. I asked him, how much would I be able to get off of this? So far as the demo is concerned, he said $4,000, right? Which was cool. He knows nothing about the fact that I have a GM discount as well. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that if you don't have a GM discount, what you can do is check with your job to see if they give discounts on auto, because my job does. I work in retail. The company that I work for gives about a $2,500 discount, which is cool. Any little bit helps, right? So we put all these numbers together, right? And that brought the car note down to $600, right? And so I'm like, listen, I can't do that one, right? He went back into the office. You know the deal, back and forth, right? So he went back into the office. He came back and said, okay, he said he can bring it down. And he's talking about his boss, the general manager. He can bring it down to $550. And I'm like, okay. I made a phone call, right? I called boss lady, which is a wife. And I asked, I said, what do you think? He said, 550. She said, if you can get it down to 500, we'll take it. I came back, I put 500 on the table, and he said yes. And from that point forward, I'm in a Cadillac CT6. Now, my car note, $500 even, right? For the protection plan, which I only got for the rims and tires, was another $25, right? Now, this is for a 2018 Cadillac CT6. This was the luxury model, not the platinum. I wish that I could afford the platinum. Now, how I got my numbers together is this, right? I get paid every 2 weeks. Now, every 2 weeks, right, I'm looking at my pay as to say, can I pay all my bills and then have some money left to carry me through the next 2 weeks? And with the next 2-week payment, can I take that, pay my car note, and again, still have money left over to take care of me for the next 2 weeks? Which means that, can I still take my wife out to dinner? If an emergency comes up, do I have enough money to take care of it? If I want to stop at McDonald's, buy a new pair of shoes, can I do that? My lifestyle is I don't go a lot of places. I don't buy a lot of gym shoes for $200 and $300. I don't buy a lot of clothes. If I go on vacation, I am able to go buy some things. So I am not car poor, right? By a long shot. And I own another YouTube channel, right? And it doesn't make a lot of money, but that's not helping me. It's the job. I've been on my job 20 years, right? So I make a decent amount of change to be able to afford it. My thing is that if I can't afford it, I mean, that's after all the bills are paid, right? The question is, what is left over for you and emergencies? And with that, I was able to see that I can afford this car. Now, the scary part was could I? From $46,000 to $66,000, that's a lot of money, you know. So it depends on how you go in trying to buy a car for $66,000, because again, you don't want to be car poor. At the same time, I got to mention that I have a wife, and what my wife understands, we kind of course, splits the bills. And that also makes it possible for me to be able to afford the Cadillac CT6 for $66,000. Again, I wish that I could keep it. I got to get rid of it, and I'm getting a new vehicle, and you'll see the delivery video on that one. So that's how I'm able to afford a $66,000 car. My suggestion to you is, number one, get your credit right. Number two, check your debt to ratio income, because whether you finance a car, whether you lease a car, they're going to take a look at this. You want to get that together, and then take a look at what you can afford at the end of the day after all your bills are paid, right? Can you still put some money away and have some money left over in your pocket to make it from week to week? All right, you all, that's going to be it for the video. Again, I want to thank everybody who has been supporting the channel. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. We do got some more info, some more videos, some more Cadillac reviews. Again, we're just getting started. All right, you all, I'm going to see you all at the next one. Peace out.